With Sonic X Shadow Generations coming out very soon and looking better than ever, I thought I'd talk about the latest and greatest Sonic game that's somehow already almost 2 years old. Yeah, Sonic Frontiers is the first game in the open zone formula, and the first 3D Sonic game in a long time that's actually, good. This game was an absolute dream to experience the first time. The vast open worlds felt nearly endless, and the game constantly threw various obstacles and challenges your way. Well, calling these things challenges is kind of giving them too much credit, but hey, the intention's there. In any case, this game was an unforgettable grand adventure. However, on repeat playthroughs, you kinda start noticing some of the flaws and inconsistencies this game has. Like some of the islands feeling unfinished, the various bugs and glitches, the emptiness of the islands. After a while, you start to realize that even though this game is a great introduction to the open zone formula, there are definitely improvements to be made. So that's what I aim to do today. I'm here to present my ideas for what Sonic Team could do to improve the open zone formula for future Sonic games. And I'm being joined by the one and only Mr. Needlemouse.
Oh, I didn't realize this was a collab. I thought I was just called, I was supposed to...
So join us on our mission to improve the open zone formula. Now, I think I could organize my ideas into 5 categories. Scale, or how big and expansive the open zone is going to be. Traversal, or how Sonic is going to navigate the open zone. Progression, or what the player is required to do to progress the narrative. Environment, or what the open zone will look like, and interaction, or how alive the world will feel. I won't be discussing Sonic's controls and moveset since it doesn't really matter to me as long as the world itself can adapt to whatever gameplay style they choose. So let's begin with scale. Now, Sonic Frontiers already has pretty expansive worlds, but the magic kinda goes away on repeat playthroughs due to the limited world scale, whereas much bigger open world games never really lose their magic of exploring the world. Now, I have 3 ideas for what they could do to improve the scale of the open zone for the next game. My first idea is to keep it the way it is, but focus on quality over quantity. So, what do I mean by that? Well, before Frontiers came out, most of the marketing promised us 3 equally massive islands. However, later in development, they instead decided to go with 5 islands. The problem with this is that these are not at all the same quality.
I'm inside the wall. I am inside the geometry I am not meant to be.
The first island is the smallest because it was split in half to form the 4th island, and the leftover chunk of it was removed and used for the 5th island. The 2nd and 3rd islands feel more complete in scale, but learning that the final 2 islands are just the first island but worse is a big disappointment. I'll mention Chronos and its 2 copies again later, but for now, how would they fix this? Well, simple. If you want 3 equally massive islands, then make 3 equally massive islands. Don't just reuse assets from previous islands just so you can say that you technically have 5 islands. It's better to make less worlds but make sure they're all equally fun and equally big than to include more worlds but risk some of them feeling very unfinished. My second idea is to go fully open world. Now, I know this might be asking for too much, but keep in mind, I am not asking for an endless world like Minecraft or a world as massive as Breath of the Wild. Heck, they could just squish the 5 islands of Frontiers into one giant open world, and I think that would be enough for me. I'm not asking for anything insane, just one huge open world big enough to get lost in. And I think upgrading into one huge world the size of multiple Frontiers islands is a natural progression of the formula established in Frontiers. But if that's too much of a difference from the standard open zone formula, then they could go with my third idea, which is to take the Mario 64 route. Yeah, no, really. Super Mario 64 has multiple open levels and one huge hub world connecting them all. So what Sonic Team could do is include one huge hub world, like the white space in Shadow Generations, but instead of normal levels, you'd have multiple open zones. They wouldn't have to be anything too huge, just big enough for Sonic to comfortably run around for long periods. Honestly, any of these ideas are fine. I'll be happy with anything as long as they focus on making the zones as big as they can instead of splitting them up for the sake of adding more zones. Next up, the Traversal. Honestly, I don't have too much to comment on with this category. I think the Traversal in Frontiers is already almost perfect. The islands themselves have fun layouts to run around, as well as a bunch of platforming challenges, springs, rails, and other things to make the environment more fun to explore. And the way they implement fast travel through the ancient rails that appear by completing open zone challenges is pretty fucking brilliant as well. The only thing I'd change is making the platforming challenges fit in with the world better. No more flying rails and platforms, make them make sense. Now, progression. Again, the progression is already pretty good in Frontiers. Sonic's main goal in 4 of the 5 islands is to collect all the Chaos Emeralds and fight the Titans. You get Chaos Emeralds by collecting vault keys from cyberspace, you enter cyberspace via portal gears that you get from defeating Guardians, and you progress the story with the characters by collecting memory tokens found in the platforming challenges. This works very well in the standard open zone formula, and shouldn't really be changed that much for future games because I think what we have is already nearly perfect. But let's assume they go with my idea and go fully open world. What would they do then? What would the goal be, and what will motivate you to complete the platforming challenges if there are no memory tokens to collect? Well, that's simple. For the overall progression, they could keep the Chaos Emeralds as the main collectible, but spread them out more. Kind of like Breath of the Wild. The emeralds would be spread through every corner of the world. The objective would be the same as Frontiers, but would take much longer, since the world would be bigger. The only problem I see with this is that collecting the emeralds only once instead of 4 times like in Frontiers might make the game feel kinda short, and we obviously wouldn't have multiple supersonic boss battles. But I actually have a fix for that too, but it's a completely different topic altogether, so I'll probably save it for another video. Now, as for the platforming challenges, what would motivate you to go through them if there's no memory tokens? Well, again, it's very simple. They could include items like skill pieces or other items to increase Sonic's stats, kinda like the Coco in Frontiers. Or, hear me out, cosmetics. Like what if you find some new shoes or gloves or clothing throughout the challenges? Might sound kinda stupid, but I think unlocking cosmetics by actually playing the game and finding them throughout the world is much better than downloading them. But no matter what they do, one thing's for sure. They should not include a game-breaking minigame that gives you all the items you need to beat the game. I mean, seriously, I like the fishing in Frontiers, but for fuck's sake, you can literally just fish for a few minutes and have everything you need to beat the game. Anyways, moving on to the environment. The environments in Frontiers are kinda lazy, honestly. I mean, don't get me wrong, the locations themselves are beautiful, but there's nothing Sonic-y about them. Not to mention, the 4th and 5th islands just reuse the environment from the 1st island. I think Kronos Island could have been a lot better if they actually worked with what they had, instead of trying to do more than what they could. Now, I'm not asking for a giant open green hill zone or anything, no. The problem with Frontiers' environments is that even though they're beautiful, all they have is grass, trees, and only a few unique looking structures. Now, I actually think that the nature in Frontiers is nearly perfect. It's absolutely beautiful and mesmerizing, so I really wouldn't mind if the next game looked like that, as long as they add some more colorful and distinct locations in between. However, they absolutely need more Sonic-y structures. Like add some villages or cities, add some loops. Like, can you believe that Frontiers doesn't have a single loop in the open zone? Now yeah, there are some ancient built corkscrews and stuff, but not a single normal loop in the environment. Like, picture this. You're running through a green hill looking environment, and you're slowly moving towards a more natural forest or grassland. Then run east from there and you find a futuristic city like Metropolis from Sonic Forces. Basically, what I mean is, implement a bunch of Sonic-y zones and split them into regions all throughout the world. I think this would make the next game visually stand out compared to Frontiers. But of course, I'm no game designer, this is just my idea and I think it would be cool. And finally, interaction. Now, this was probably my biggest complaint with the open zone in Frontiers. It's just so empty and lifeless. Like, yeah, I understand the whole point of the Starfall Islands is that they're abandoned and stranded, but like, man, there's just no life here. And like, you have the Coco, you could have made a bunch of Coco NPCs to talk to in the villages and stuff. Like, the only NPCs you can talk to in Frontiers are your friends and Sage. This has to change in the next game. I want the world in the next game to feel lived in, to feel like an actual world that could exist in real life. A world where people have their own problems and their own lives.
Kind of like Sonic Unleashed. That's right, I think Sonic Unleashed has the perfect solution to this problem. Although the game isn't open zone, it has multiple open hub world areas with people living in them. You can talk to the residents, help with their problems, learn about their cultures, witness their struggles and achievements, buy stuff from their shops, give them advice, and even receive advice from them. The world of Sonic Unleashed easily feels like the most alive, by far. You always have the knowledge that while you're running through the towns trying to save the world, they have their own lives happening behind the scenes, and that is just beautiful. The next Sonic game should take a page from Unleashed's book and include some more life in its worlds. With Sonic Frontiers as islands, it feels very dead. There's nothing there except for the enemies that you have to face. The more life can be brought to the next open zone, the better it would be, in my opinion. I don't care if they use humans or animals or whatever the hell they want to, they just have to make the worlds feel alive. Just like Sonic Unleashed, aka Peak.
And that's all the categories. Again, I am no game designer, I am no director, I don't have any experience or any knowledge of what goes on in making video games. I'm just giving my ideas and opinions and sharing stuff that I think would be kinda cool. No matter what Sonic team decides to do, I'm sure they'll do a good job because it seems they are really improving this decade with amazing projects back to back. Mostly. Thank you all so much for watching this video. It is definitely my biggest video yet, and a huge thanks to Mr. Needlemouse for joining me for this video. He's one of my biggest inspirations and I'm honored to have him here. Make sure you check out his channel, it's in the description down below. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.